Hi friends, welcome to this my second video on introductory video or demonstration video, if you may, on the KP course that I'm going to start from 17th, as you would be able to see from the thumbnail of this video, 17th of March. So just a quick recap. You must have seen my last video on the same topic. See, the topic that I'm taking up is, and I'm trying to explain over 2, 3 videos before I start my course on 17th, is the basic difference in prediction techniques between KP and Vedic astrology. And the presumption, of course, is like I said in my last video, is that you would know the basics of Vedic or Indian astrology at least. So as to follow, what I'm trying to explain to you in this video. So just a quick recap, and my many of my viewers tell me that, sir, your videos are very long. So I'll try and make it as short as possible, or just a recap on what I tried to explain to you in my last video. See, in my last video, the same graphic was there, the same screen was there, and this is a chart. Okay, this is a chart at random, and this is the table of significators. So in Vedic astrology, as I said in the last video, जो हमने कहा था पिछले video में, I'll be speaking in both English as well as Hindi, because a number of a number of my viewers and my would-be students from South India, Kerala, and other states, they have been inquiring in which language are you going to teach, sir. So I have told them that it'll be in both Hindi as well as in English. तो anyway, लास्ट वीडियो में हमने ये ही चार्ट आपके सामने रखा था. देखिएगा, करीब ये एक हफ्ता पहले हमने ये वीडियो एक और बनाया था. उसी का थोड़ा सा एडवांस में मैं आज slightly in advance of that video, I'm trying to bring to you the technique that we use in KP. So this is a random chart, and I explained to you that in this is the house of significators. That in Vedic astrology, we use mainly the placement of planet in a house. That is the planet, any planet which is occupies a particular house, and the house that is owned by any planet. These are the two combinations that we see for predicting results. In Vedic astrology, it is like that. And of course, there are advanced version. There's that Navamsha theory, etc. All that is there. But basically, this is what we do. So what I had done, and I'm doing the same thing again. What I had done is, see, this first column is the house 1 to 12. एक से 12 ये भाव हैं, और उनके उनके भाव में कौन बैठा है, occupant. This is column B is the occupant. The planet sitting in, say, for example, the second house, Jupiter and Ketu. So from here you will see Jupiter and Ketu sitting in the second house. This is as so what I and who is the lord of the second house? Lord of second house is Mars, as you would be able to see, since Scorpio is the Rashi of the second house. So in Vedic astrology, we take out these columns. We'll talk about these columns just slightly later on. Okay, now just to explain the difference, I am just deleting these two columns just to make it clearer to you. This is gone now, and this column is also gone. What this column is, we'll talk about this later. Okay. Now for Vedic astrology, we are left with these two relevant columns. Houses 1 to 12, and in front of the house is occupant of the house and sign lord. That means lord of the house. These are the two combinations that we see for predicting results mainly. So for second house, say for example, second house, who are the occupants? Jupiter and Ketu are the occupants, as you can see from this chart also. And who is the lord of the second house? It is Mars. So in Vedic astrology, when the Dashantar Dasha or the Pratyantar Dasha, DBASP, Dasha Bhukti, etc., when of Jupiter it is on, and or of Mars, then what we predict is this. Just I'm talking very generally, that we'll get the result of the second house in this horoscope. Whatever second house, whatever predictions we have to make, whatever is represented by the second house, like it is your status, it is your accumulated wealth, it is, it is your family, addition to the family, whatever we have to predict, we predict from the second house on the basis of the occupant, the planet or the planets that are occupying the second house, that is the occupant, and the planet that is the lord of the second house. So this table becomes relevant for Vedic astrology. This is how we predict in Vedic astrology. Now, what happens in KP? So for KP, I'll just scroll up. I have explained to you, this is just a recap on my last video. Okay, what happens in KP? What happens in KP is now this house of significator table comes in. Now for second house, we were talking about the second house, Jupiter, Ketu as occupants and Mars as the Lord. In Vedic, we predict on the basis of this. What happens in KP is, there are 27 constellations or stars, 27 नक्षत्र हैं, 27, और जिसको हम लैंग्वेज में केपी के लैंग्वेज में स्टार बोलते हैं, स्टार और कॉन्स्टलेशंस वी कॉल देम, देयर आर 27. एवरी प्लैनेट इज द ओनर ऑफ 3 कॉन्स्टलेशंस, ठीक है, और हर एक इस चार्ट में all these planets, हर एक ग्रह, every planet is sitting in the constellation of some other planet, could be in its own, it could be in its own constellation or in the constellation or the star of some other planet. So this is what this table is about. Now say for example occupant. Okay, here we see occupant. Now Jupiter and Ketu. So some planet would be in either, could be or would be in the constellation of Jupiter or in the constellation of Ketu in this horoscope. So that those planets or that planet sitting in the Jupiter constellation of Jupiter or Ketu is represented here in column A in star of occupant. What does that mean? Occupant is here, Jupiter is the occupant, and Ketu is the occupant. So any planet sitting in the star or constellation of Jupiter or Ketu will come here in this column A. So for example, now Sun and Venus, they are sitting in the star of Ketu. This you can see from this table here also. So Sun and Venus will primarily in their Dasha Antar Dasha, Pratyantar Dasha, DBASP, Dasha, Bhukti, Antara, okay? Sun and Venus, Neptune we don't consider. Sun and Venus during their periods, they will give the result of the second house. Whereas in Vedic, the result of the second house was mainly to be given by Jupiter and Ketu and Mars, the owner. But here in KP, it all changes. The See, any planet in KP gives the result of its star lord. What does that mean? Any planet will give the result of the planet in whose star it is sitting, like Sun and Venus. They are sitting in the star of Ketu. Okay, so in KP language, we say that Sun and Venus will give the result of its star lord, primarily where in whichever house its star lord is sitting. The star lord of Sun, wherever it is sitting, it is Ketu, it is sitting in the second house. So a planet in KP will primarily, firstly, most strongly give the result of the planet, the occupied house of the planet in whose star it is sitting. Like Sun is sitting in the star of Ketu, which occupies the second house. So Sun will primarily give the result of the second house. Similarly, Venus is also sitting in the star of Ketu. No planets are found in the star of Jupiter. So Jupiter becomes the occupant. We'll talk about that later. For your understanding, right now, Sun and Venus during its period, Dasha Antardasha, they will give strongly the result of the second house. Okay. So column A is the strongest significator of the in front of the house that it appears. In KP, the owner of the house, the lord of the house, is the weakest significator. Okay, for example, here, what we have to understand is that second house owner, Mars, is the weakest significator, weakest giver of result. Let's put it that way. It will definitely give some, it will have some impact in KP in giving the result of the second house It will have an impact. It will give something for the second house. But who will give it the strongest in the strongest manner? That will be Sun and Venus. Whereas whereas in Vedic, Jupiter, Ketu, and Mars, they will give the result of the second house. In KP, all that changes. You see, this KP had done after a long, research, and we call it, when I teach you, when you join my classes, I'll tell you what exactly this is, how Krishnamurti ji arrived at all this. This is actually, it's an extension of the Navamsha theory or the Varg chart theory. Okay, the different Vargas, mainly the Navansha. It is an extension of the Navansha. We'll speak about that later. Another thing that I explained in my last video, in front of any house, if column A is occupied, the planet found in column A is the strongest significator or the result giver of the house in front of which appears. Okay. If this is blank, column A is, suppose it is blank. Okay, let's now pick up seventh house. Seventh house, we see marriage. Okay, so no planet appears here in front of A. Then that means that next we see who occupies seventh house. It is occupied by moon. Okay, it is occupied by moon. There's no planet in the nakshatra or the star of moon. So moon becomes the primary, the role of giving the result of the seventh house in this horoscope passes on to moon, because there is no planet in its nakshatra. Had there been any planet in moon's nakshatra, that would have been that would have given the result of the seventh house very strongly. Seventh house, marriage, etc., etc. That we'll come to later. See, for preparing this, of course, I mean, this is all computerized these days, but if you have to prepare it manually, then start with this column D. From this, take any house. You have to place the lord of the house in any lord of the house in column D. This is column D, lord of the house comes here. Okay, then you have to see, is there any star, is there any planet sitting in the star or the constellation of Lord of the House? If it is, then that comes in C, in star of sign Lord. It comes in C. I'm speaking in English mainly because this is for my साउथ इंडिया बेस्ड क्लाइंट्स. हिंदी में भी मैं समझा रहा हूँ. सबसे पहले कॉलम डी में हमें देखना है कौन सा ग्रह जो है किस भाव का, किस हाउस का स्वामी है. उसके सामने हमको ये लिख देना है अगर हम मैन्युअली इस चार्ट को बना रहे हैं. उसके बाद हमें देखना है, वो सारा आपको इस टेबल से मिल जाएगा कि भाव के लॉर्ड में, भाव का लॉर्ड जो है, भाव का स्वामी जो है, उसके नक्षत्र में अगर कोई ग्रह बैठा हुआ है तो वो कॉलम सी में आ जाएगा. जैसे फर्स्ट हाउस को लेते हैं. फर्स्ट हाउस का देखिए, ये तुला लग्न की कुंडली है. दिस इज अ लिब्रा लग्न हॉरोस्कोप. सो द लॉर्ड इज वीनस. अब हम देखेंगे is there any star, is there any planet in the star of Venus, वो हमें इस टेबल से मिल जाएगा. तो हम देखेंगे कि चंद्रमा जो है, मून इज सिटिंग इन दी कॉन्स्टलेशन और स्टार ऑफ वीनस. उसको हम यहाँ कॉलम सी में लिख देंगे. उसके बाद फिर हम आ जाएंगे सीधे फर्स्ट हाउस के ऑक्यूपेंट पर. ऑक्यूपेंट मतलब the planet that is sitting in the first house. It is Saturn. So यहाँ हम Saturn लिख देंगे. फिर हम देखेंगे Saturn के नक्षत्र में is there any planet sitting in the nakshatra or the star popularly called the star of Saturn? Yes, there are two planets sitting in the star of Saturn. They are Mars and Jupiter. ये आपको इस टेबल से मिल जाएगा. तो हम इसमें फर्स्ट हाउस असेंडेंट के सामने मार्स और जुपिटर लिख देंगे. तो हमें ये फिर कृष्णमूर्ति के सिग्निफिकेटर्स मिल गए. फर्स्ट हाउस को सबसे स्ट्रांगली सिग्निफाई करेगा मार्स यानी कि मंगल और बृहस्पति, मार्स एंड जुपिटर. सेकंड इन ऑर्डर ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ सैटर्न सिग्निफाई करेगा. थर्ड इन ऑर्डर ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ मून सिग्निफाई करेगा. और लास्ट इन ऑर्डर ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ वीनस सिग्निफाई करेगा. कब देंगे ये अपना रिजल्ट? अपने दशांतर दशा. ये है कृष्णमूर्ति पद्धति इन शॉर्ट. मैं बहुत लंबा नहीं कर रहा हूं, जस्ट ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन टू यू. अभी फिर और हम देखें ना, अब इसको हम थोड़ा सा स्क्रॉल अप करते हैं. ये सब मैंने लास्ट वीडियो में आप लोगों को समझाया था. तो ये फिर, और ये भी हमने यहाँ तक हमने समझा दिया था कि ये कंपैरेटिव चार्ट है। तो जैसे में हम देख रहे थे कि फर्स्ट हाउस, सेकंड हाउस कुछ भी ले लीजिए, सेकंड हाउस मान लीजिए हम लेते हैं, सेकंड हाउस हम ले लेते हैं। तो सेकंड हाउस वैदिक में, सेकंड हाउस जैसा अभी हमने ऊपर देखा का रिजल्ट देखिए, हमने टेबल को शॉर्ट कर दिया, छोटा कर दिया है। प्रेडिक्शन वैदिक, सेकंड हाउस का रिजल्ट हमें ऑक्यूपेंट जुपिटर और केतु अपने दशा अंतरदशा में देंगे, और मंगल जो सेकंड हाउस का स्वामी है, ये हमें मिल करके वैदिक एस्ट्रोलॉजी में मेनली ये रिजल्ट देंगे। इसके अलावा नवांश वगैरह जो हम देखते हैं वो अलग है। उसी का एक्सटेंशन कृष्णमूर्ति पद्धति में है। कृष्णमूर्ति पद्धति में मेनली जुपिटर और केतु जो है सबसे मजबूती से रिजल्ट नहीं देंगे। जुपिटर एंड केतु विल नॉट गिव द रिजल्ट ऑफ द सेकंड हाउस as strongly as they would in Vedic astrology. Okay, who will give the result in KP? The planet sitting in the constellation or star of Jupiter and Ketu, that is Sun and Venus, will give very strongly the result of Jupiter and of the second house, because their Sun and Venus are sitting in the constellation of Ketu. No, there is no planet in Jupiter. Okay, constellation that we'll talk about later. Jupiter, then, if there is no planet in its star, it will give equally, this also becomes strong, the strongest to give the result of the second house. ये हम बात में, primarily what I am trying to explain to you, the golden rules of KP. This is the golden rule that any planet, it gives the result of its star lord. How does it gives the result of its star lord? Star lord means the planet in whose star or constellation is sitting. It will primarily give the result of the house where its star lord is first of all placed, then of the house where where its star lord of which, of which house its star lord is the lord. Okay, जिस भाव कोई भी ग्रह सबसे पहले रिजल्ट देगा उस भाव का जिसमें कि उसका नक्षत्र स्वामी बैठा हुआ है, उसके बाद वो देगा उसका नक्षत्र स्वामी जिस जिस भाव का स्वामी है। ठीक है, ये हमें समझना है। सो लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, सेकंड हाउस स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट रिजल्ट सन वीनस, व्हाई? बिकॉज दे आर सिटिंग इन द स्टार ऑफ Ketu. Jupiter is free. Jupiter is, we'll talk about this later on. Okay, as I said, we'll discuss it later when we come to the course proper. Okay, they will give the result here. This I have discussed and explained to you in my last video. But now what I am trying to explain to you in this video is the quality of the result. Quality of the result, यानी कि result कैसा रहेगा, वो result, you see, the result of the second house could be good, or the result of the second house could be bad, or it could be just normal. This is confirmed that Saturn and Venus will give the result of the second house in strength. पूरे चार्ट में सूर्य और शुक्र हमें सेकंड हाउस का रिजल्ट देंगे, लेकिन इनका रिजल्ट कैसा होगा? वो हमें वेल्थ देंगे, हमें धन दौलत देंगे। धन दौलत मेरा संचय एक्यूमुलेटेड वेल्थ होगा कि नहीं होगा, ये हम कैसे जानेंगे? सेकंड हाउस से और भी चीजें जो भी हम देखते हैं, हमारा स्टेटस कैसा रहेगा, हमारा नाम, माय स्टेटस इन सोसाइटी, व्हाट स्टेटस विल आई एंजॉय, वो हमें कैसे पता चलेगा? हियर what comes, where comes the much talked about sublord theory of KP. Krishnamurti ji discovered that every planet is sitting, in a part of the zodiac, in a particular part of the zodiac, according to its longitude, अपने डिग्री के हिसाब से वो कुंडली में, हॉरोस्कोप में कहीं ना कहीं बैठे हुए हैं। जहां वो बैठे हैं उसका उस छोटे से अंश का एक नक्षत्र स्वामी, उसका एक जो है छोटे से अंश में जो बैठा हुआ है, उस भाग को बोला जाता है उसका सब। किसी सब में प्लेस्ड है वो। जैसे वैदिक एस्ट्रोलॉजी में आपने सुना होगा, हर एक ग्रह या लग्न किसी नवांश में बैठी रहती है, किसी नवे नवे अंश में। वैदिक एस्ट्रोलॉजी में एक जोडियक साइन को, एक राशि को 9 भागों में डिवाइड करके 9वां अंश निकाला गया है, तो हर एक ग्रह किसी अंश में बैठा रहता है। उसी प्रकार से कृष्णमूर्ति पद्धति में इन केपी, one constellation is divided into 9 parts, and each and every planet will be sitting in any given constellation that we have seen. Now, in that particular constellation, they will be sitting in a particular degree, which is called the sub area of that planet. So, Sun and Venus बैठे हैं सेकंड हाउस में, किसी के किसी पर्टिकुलर पोजीशन पे बैठे हुए हैं, that particular longitude that Sun and Venus are sitting, उसका एक sublord होगा. That area is called the sub, that particular degree. How it is to be seen, to be calculated, that we'll, when we come to learn KP in detail, we'll get there. But right now you understand the quality. How is the quality of result going to be of the second house? कैसा हमें फल मिलेगा? उसके लिए हम सपोज सन की महादशा या अंतरदशा चल रही है, तो सन हमें सेकंड हाउस का रिजल्ट देगा. कैसा रिजल्ट देगा? उसके लिए ये नीचे वाला प्लान ग्रह आइए, इस सन के सामने देखिए प्लैनेट लिखा है, प्लैनेट इज रिटन हियर, सन इज हियर, and sun ke samne, in front of sun, you will find the sublord of the sun. Sun is sitting in a particular area in the zodiac, which is called its sub area, and that sub area has a lord, which is called the sublord. How it is calculated, how it is understood, that we'll see in a later video, the next video. But the sun, the quality of result that sun kaisa phal dega, that will be qualified by its sublord के जो उसके significations होंगे, the same table will be used. उसका sublord अच्छा signify कर रहा है या खराब, whether the sublord has got positive significations or the sublord has got negative significations. According to that, the result of sun is to be read. Say, for example, before finishing of this video, see, Mercury is the sublord of Sun. Sun is giving the result of the second house. Sun Antardasha, suppose hypothetically Sun Antardasha is on. We are seeing the status of the native, okay? So, Sun is giving the status, accumulated wealth. Now we have to see the sublord of Sun. What is the signification of the sublord of Sun? It is Mercury. So, look for Mercury first of all in this A column. It is in the Mercury is signifying the 11th house, which according to me is the best and the most auspicious house of the horoscope. So sun during its antardasha, pratyantardasha, mahadasha, whatever, will give the result of the second house. And since its sublord Mercury is sitting in is signifying an auspicious house, it has auspicious and positive significations. So sun will give a very good, status to this native. It will give good accumulated wealth. Okay. Similarly, for all houses, we have to see. सभी के लिए हमको देखना है. Venus क्या कैसा है? Venus भी हमने डिस्कस किया ऊपर. Venus भी सेकंड हाउस का रिजल्ट देगा अपने दशा पीरियड में. Venus का कौन है? सबलॉर्ड. Venus का सबलॉर्ड है मार्स. तो मार्स को यहाँ पर ढूंढिए. मार्स क्या सिग्निफाई कर रहा है? मार्स फर्स्ट हाउस को सिग्निफाई कर रहा है. फर्स्ट हाउस को सिग्निफाई कर रहा है, यानी कि फर्स्ट हाउस सेल्फ होता है. तो सेकंड हाउस कनेक्टेड विद सेल्फ, फर्स्ट हाउस के सिग्निफिकेशंस अच्छे माने जाते हैं. तो वीनस भी अपने दशा अंतरदशा में इनको अच्छा रिजल्ट देगा, नेम फेम देगा, ख्याति देगा. इससे आगे और भी बहुत बारीकियां हैं. देयर आर small subtle details which we will get into, but this is not the end of the significations. Okay, that I am leaving for the next video. How, whether even Mercury will be able to give good positive results of the second house, the matter does not end here. The matter does not end here. The main, you see, what we have to see main is the cuspal sublord. But I am not making the video too long. Next video we'll try and understand what the cuspal sublord is. The cuspal sublord here is in this in this table. You can see my cursor. We'll discuss this in the next video. How whether the second house that we are talking about, whether the second house has opened its doors, its gates for the good results, to flow out of it. Okay, that is the most important part of KP. Without, the planets are powerless unless and until the cuspal sublords they support the planets. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and see you again in my next video, which maybe after a couple of days मैं उसको लेकर के आऊंगा, उसमें मैं समझाने की कोशिश, I'll try and explain where we are getting at, and this is how I'm going to teach you. This is going to be my style. All these videos will be sent to you on the subsequent day of the class, and these write-ups and these graphics, I send all the PDFs also to all my students, and the recordings are also sent to you. Thanks a lot for watching. If there are any queries, you can always get back to me, and get in touch with me for my course details. I'm available on WhatsApp. As it is, I think next video I'll put the course contents also, and otherwise you can personally get in touch with me to find out about the course contents and the syllabus. आप लोग मुझसे कोर्स के बारे में चाहें तो मेरे व्हाट्सएप नंबर सारे दिए हुए हैं, तो थंबनेल में भी दिए हुए हैं, उसमें आप मुझसे संपर्क कर सकते हैं, क्या कोर्स के डिटेल्स रहेंगे। इसी तरीके से मैं पढ़ाता हूँ। मेरा ये केपी का बैच होगा, and I think my students are quite satisfied, with how I have been teaching. कुछ नहीं समझ में आया हो, you can get in touch with me and I'll try and explain if there has been any gap anywhere. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you'll join my course. If there's any feedback you want to give me, you're most welcome. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye and good night.